Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
We got the short census survey. Oh, yeah. Feeling pretty good about that. I mean, at least I was. I thought I was still going through the basic starter questions. I thought it was still just calibrating. It's still just getting the baseline. And suddenly it's like, all right, would you like to submit? You're done. It's such a short amount of time. It took no time at all. I believe the long form is about 3 times as long in terms of number of questions, from approximately 20 up to approximately 60. So by my estimate, that would take you about a whole, 8 minutes of your life to do. Not much time, and way less than the estimates that they tell you. Even for the short one, they were like, do you have half an hour? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm just kind of chilling post dinner. Yeah, that'll be fine. 5 minutes later, just done. Less than 5. I think, though, it's funny. My girl wanted the long form survey. I think she genuinely was a little bit upset that we didn't get it. And I think it's only purely out of FOMO, fear of missing out curiosity. Only wanted to see what that longer form survey looked like because we didn't get it. And had it been flipped in reverse, she would have been like, well, what's on the short one? What's different about that? Why didn't we get the short one? What I don't get, though, is the big deal about this. It's just so fast to fill it out. It helps them figure out how to build schools and hospitals in places, things like that. And it's a gross underrepresentation of what the census is all about. But I mean, that's the basic steps. And again, less than 5 minutes. Blowing my mind, this story. A swarm of bees was used to launch a defensive campaign. Or is that a bee-fensive campaign down in Massachusetts? A beekeeper, full gear and everything, was attempting to do something I think noble-hearted, delaying the eviction order that was being carried out for a man in his 80s undergoing cancer treatment at a house. And she did it by bringing a trailer loaded with beehives and cracking them open, several of them, to do her bee bidding. That's some comic book stuff right there. And, she seems like a hero on paper, maybe, sure. I do think that she was trying to enact some kind of justice or fairness. There was some sort of superhero element to this. But she also ended up devastating her hives, not to mention that using bees as a weapon could kill someone. You find somebody allergic, boom, that's a bad scenario. So, maybe not so heroic, really.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
Thanks, Nicolas Cage. Still, would have been unbelievable to watch that neighborhood drama going down across the street. That deputy just knocked 3 more hives over. Honey, are the kids inside? If this were 1996, this would be an X-Files episode so fast.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Juicy hot goss coming out of New Jersey with a viral post from a metal band that usually has a bit of a smaller reach. They have got about 7,000 followers, up and coming band. They're trying to make things happen. But now they've got one post that has reached well over 2 million different accounts, and that's simply because they said that they are changing up the lineup. I read verbatim, due to unforeseen and disgusting reasons, Ryan and Aubrey are no longer in Rain. Their actions in zero way are a reflection of the morals of the band and everyone who is involved with the band. The things that are going on behind the scenes that were brought to light was simply unacceptable, and that is the honest and genuine truth. So, yeah, they're looking to replace the vocalist and bassist. It's simple, dramatic stuff. I guess one of the two was romantically linked with the drummer. However, there was some canoodling, some cheating going on, which has come to light, and I guess they even wanted to stay together. And the band said, sure, you can. Not with us. Billy Corgan is bringing his very, very successful A Night of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness reimagining of the album from 1995 that was having very, very successful shows throughout the States. And a couple stops up north here in Canada as well, but now it's moving across the pond into the UK and a lot of European shows with the orchestral reimagining of an absolute classic. Would be incredible to go and see those. Deep Purple also making big waves as they've announced a new album, if you can believe it. It's called Splat. They're also going to be doing a big 2026 world tour, and all the details are online right now. But if you want the album, pre-save it. July 3rd is when it drops. That's it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
I am losing my mind. I'm tearing my hair out. I know it's what everybody deals with when they've got a little item here, a little item there on the buy and sell, the local marketplace. But I'm getting ghosted left, right, and center. I've got literally a dozen messages that are like, a dozen threads that are like 3 or 4 messages deep, and that's it. And it's all about, like a simple item that I even knocked the price down on. It's down from $50 to $30. It's like a light, an old light that you use for photography, making videos, whatever. And it's just got to go. We just did some spring cleaning, need the space. Sell it for cheap. I thought it was a steal. I thought there was no way there was going to be any issues whatsoever. And yet, conversation after conversation that starts, hey, is this still available? And then continues with me going, yeah, are you still interested? Yeah, pickups here. Yeah, what do you think? And then constant nothingness after that, the vacant and empty abyss that is the conversations in the buy and sell. They ghost you so completely. I feel like I've been jilted at the altar, they just left me behind. I feel like they go as fast as Homer Simpson when he finds out that there's food somewhere.
I've got an idea, Mr. Simpson. Why don't you get something to eat from our food truck? Hey! Mr. Simpson?
Mr. Simpson, where'd you go? Are you there? Do you still interested? I'll sell it for 20. I'll sell it for 10. I'll give it to you for free if you just come and pick it up. Who are these people and why are they everyone? A Mother's Day cruise on the riverboat in Edmonton took a little extra time, a little bit of an extended schedule as they got stuck. I'm not sure what the details were. They got stuck on something or if the engines were just failing. Whatever the case is, over 200 passengers on a Mother's Day cruise stranded and stuck. That's not the situation you want to be putting mom into. Unless, of course, having your undivided attention and an inability for you to escape for hours and hours on end is exactly what your mom wanted for Mother's Day. Oh, this is just so nice. I never get to spend time with you like this. And also the scampi was great. It just looks like a nightmare scenario on one side of the coin and mom's best day ever on the other, doesn't it?
Tuesday.
Is there any one single selling point for Cybertrucks? Aside from the fact that some have been documented covered in raccoons, trying to get in because they believe it's a dumpster. My partner, she would categorize that as an absolute critical win, in fact. But now Tesla has recalled an entire line of aluminum boxes on wheels this month, specifically because those wheels might just fall off. Run that by me one more time. The recall affects every single unit sold of the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck long-range line, with the brake rotor stud holes potentially cracking, allowing for the wheels on the Bro bus to no longer go round and round. It's a good thing they've only sold 173 of them, apparently. That's not big numbers. Thankfully, I think that's also led to no one being injured so far. Other than Tesla, of course. We start off with the Rolling Stones sharing some sad news. Specifically, Keith Richards announces that they will not be touring to support their brand new album Foreign Tongues, which releases in in early July rather, but he says that we can talk in 2027. They still may do the tour. It might take them a little bit longer. He says to Associated Press, we only just finished the record, but we can talk more as we move on. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make good on a promise of a worldwide tour last year, as they said that Richards was just unable and not for any specified reasons. So, potentially, just taking a little bit longer with whatever those reasons were. Meanwhile, another UK singer, UK rock star Rod Stewart, talking to King Charles and overheard to say the words, "You put that little rat bag in his place." Specifically talking about the, President of the United States of America. Rod Stewart has been openly, against the regime over there in the United States, across the pond from him on, several occasions, and I don't think he's going to be stopping anytime soon. Meanwhile, last story, Spotify is marking the 20th anniversary of the streaming service. And they're giving you basically what's the usual Spotify Wrapped of the Year experience, but for that entire 2-decade period, allowing users for the very first time to even look back all the way to the very first day that they joined the service, what they listened to on day one, the total number of unique songs, etc., and we'll even make a 120-song playlist of your all-time favorites. and add in a whole bunch of commercials and ad-supported stuff in the middle of it everywhere you go. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve.
Wednesday.
What obscure thing do you know enough about to launch into a 30-minute presentation over, with no prep needed? What is locked in your brain? You just know a lot about the history of nuclear incidents and tests throughout history, since the nuclear age began. Very much could be a thing that you've just locked a lot of hours into YouTube explainer videos over, and you could regurgitate a ton of facts. Let me know what that is. Call or text 780-715-2789, or you can, of course, jump online, join the conversation for the big question. And I was reminded of the Patton Oswalt bit he did, one of his comedy specials, Talking for Clapping, explained that he is just such a huge Star Wars fan, and he tried to get his daughter into it, but she's just not. She's into her own thing. And then he goes on to describe that, he decided he'd try to just be a part of her thing a little bit. It's not really for him, but My Little Pony, she has it on a lot. And so, you do end up watching a little kind of thing. Ends up knowing every single piece of deep lore about the extended My Little Pony universe, They
don't have their symbols yet, so who knows what it's going to be, right? Although, I just saw the episode where they got theirs. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet. But they figured out what their key mark is. It's really cool, so. But anyway, look, that's my daughter's thing. I don't know. That's, whatever, have fun.
Whatever you'd want to do, I don't know. It's not my thing, but it is my thing. What's that for you? Let me know. It's the kind of thing that's just so frustrating to see. I know people are, in their element, in their cups a little bit at live music shows, but don't throw things at the people on the stage, or at anybody, really. Ollie Sykes of Bring Me the Horizon suffered a mild concussion after somebody in the audience at a show in St. Louis on Monday during their U.S. tour threw a phone at him, hit him in the temple. And he even said afterwards that the singing, as he continued the show, was making him struggle because it was putting a lot of pressure on the wound, making things feel disorienting. He's okay, is expected to have a fine recovery, but he asked, who the bleep just threw a phone at my bleeping head? Why would you? Oh, it's so frustrating. Anyway, Netflix has revealed that Kevin Hart's roast was actually supposed to be Paul McCartney, although he turned them down. He said absolutely no, and Netflix saying that would be a dream, a fantasy roast for them to set up, but don't hold your breath. Doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. Good thing we have the Kevin Hart one to watch and rewatch in the meantime. And big announcement from the Pixies. They have just said that the complete B-Sides project is on the way from 1988 to 1997. Remastered only on vinyl for the first time, originally appearing in 2001. It's just a huge compilation for fans. They're also going to be doing a tour for the UK and Europe, nowhere near here, but a big lineup celebrating their 40th anniversary. You can get your hands on this special re-release a little bit later on this month, June 26th, or next month, rather, but you can get the pre-order in as of today. That's it for your music news. I'm Steve Reeve.
Hey, Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
In Edmonton, I caught it just yesterday afternoon. Looks like a Tesla hit an LRT train down there. I used to take that train, well, not the line, the new line that was affected, but the LRT nonetheless, so often when I was living there. Never had anything like this happen, but many a situation where I thought it was close. And this was no David and Goliath kind of situation, just the pure physics of big vehicle versus little vehicle. And thankfully it appears that injuries were minor, but thick black smoke was rising into the afternoon. Passengers had to use replacement bus service to get where they needed to go through the evening. Scary looking situation too. It made me think about how at one point, maybe at several points, a high-speed rail between Edmonton and Calgary was being floated. There's absolutely some "this is why we can't have nice things" to this LRT story. It makes me wonder if those intercity tracks would even be a good idea, I don't know exactly what happened. They'll have to investigate. I was not there, but being impatient with vehicles on train tracks while inside far less durable vehicles is practically an official Albertan pastime.
Thursday.
They are talking blasphemy down in Calgary. Are the Canadian Rockies even Canadian? Gasp. Well, yeah, they are. But did they actually form there? Geologically, possibly not. There is a theory. The presentation was being based on some research from a guy out of Arizona named Hildebrand who suggests that the Rockies that are in Canada actually formed in Nevada, way back when and moved north. Went on a little field trip. That would be a huge tectonic movement of more than like 1,000, like more like 1,300 kilometers of movement. And that would also mean everything west of the Canadian Rockies down there in Nevada also moved north at that time, if the theory's true. And back then, being 70 million years ago, which is a huge number. Obviously, there's no bearing on any political borders or boundaries at this point in time. No argument for the 51st state or anything like that. Well, you see, those Rocky Mountains are ours anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and take them back. Yeah, that was a long time ago. There was literal dinosaurs on the Earth at that point in time. So, and again, a theory, nonetheless, still needs to be proven with more research, data, all that stuff. I did learn, though, that the fault line that would have been responsible for this, known about for about a century, though not by me, is called the Tintina fault. And I just, my takeaway from all this, that's just fun to say. Tintina. About 30 million people are in agreement that men need to stop wearing flip-flops constantly through the summer. I can hear the gasps right now. What? But that's all I wear all summer. Of course, many of the reactors online are women, the same gender known to wear flip-flops while driving in the snow all winter, usually paired with a set of keys on a lanyard that weighs 14 pounds, but that's a whole different thing. We won't talk about that. Some are objecting to the toe hair. Some have encountered crusty conditions. Some are just offended by the affront to fashion, much like I feel about Crocs. But the funniest evidence of female aversion to male flip-floppery was one comment that says, "A dealer in my town wears flip-flops and it genuinely keeps me sober." First of all, congratulations. Second of all, that's actually hilarious.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
The Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne biopic is gonna be happening. Looking like a 2028 release. It will be a labor of love, apparently. Jack Osbourne has been sharing that it is absolutely going to be happening, though not announcing many details about the production of it. He does say that it will be written by the guy who was actually Oscar-nominated. Lee Hall wrote Rocket Man, as well as Billy Elliot, but Rocket Man being a biopic of sorts. And speaking of Elton John, he says he's actually finished a new album at 80 years old. And he says it's different to anything he's ever done before, but it's very happy sounding. He said that his recent visual impairments have had to force him, given him a chance at 80 years of age to completely revise how he writes. Very, very interesting. And there will be more to come from that, I'm sure. Weird Al in the news. Not somebody we get to play that often, unfortunately, but Weird Al Yankovic Broadway musical is now in development. It's called Dare to Be Stupid, named after a song that isn't actually a direct parody of any other song, but really is like a style parody of Devo in general. A song that Weird Al has even played for members of Devo way back in the day in 1985, to which they said, "I love it and I hate you for it." It was also on the Transformers the movie soundtrack. Fun fact. But there was a statement from Weird Al saying that he was, ever since he was a middle-aged man, he's always wanted to be a part of the New York theater community. Always with the dry wit. It's going to take a little while before it arrives, but Dare to Be Stupid, the Weird Al musical, is going to be hitting the New York Theater District at some point in the future. And that's it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve. I've learned about Car Ranch now, as many people have, thanks to one viral video from a mom who learned about it from her daughter. I guess they didn't have any ranch in the house, and the daughter immediately disappeared, comes back again, and goes, "Oh, it's okay, I just grabbed the Car Ranch." 17-year-old girl coming in, telling mom, teaching mom about the concept of Car Ranch, and I've now got to explain it because I just had to learn what it is. It's the emergency ranch stash for when you don't have any available and you just need some in your car for dipping related purposes. I gotta say, and they did mention in the video, they're in Florida. So this stuff, I mean, it stays in your car for even a day or two, and it's just been at like explosively hot temperatures the entire time. That's going to turn into explosive diarrhea. That's just what that is. That's what that's going to happen with. Now, I don't mind the idea of maybe taking a leftover packet from some fast food, the peel the foil off the top kind of packet. It can last a little while without the refrigeration. Sure, whatever. Not really going to, write people up, call people out on that one. But if it's stored, if it's living living in the car than there is things living in it in the car. You know what I mean? A lot of reactions to the video saying, hey, no, girl, I have got car ranch, car ketchup, car forks, car spoons, car knives, car Chick-fil-A sauce, car Advil, what you need. Another person saying that their kid had car ranch with their Jeep, left it parked with the top off, and a bunch of birds came in there, had a rave in the car overnight, ate the car ranch, pecked the dashboard hula girl to death, and then had that explosive diarrhea that was inevitable all over the floor mats. And that was the end of car ranch. I think that should just be the end of car ranch in general as a concept. Don't do it. But at the same time, also, where you live probably has a big factor to play in whether or not that's even viable. Florida seems too hot. Up here seems too cold. That ranch would be frozen half the year.
Friday.
I grabbed some frozen healthy option burritos yesterday. I probably would have overlooked them normally, but they were on a great sale, and that is a great opportunity to try something new, see if it's great. And they were really decent. I lucked out. But it was the instructions that blew my mind, not so much the taste. They were good. But the microwave instructions were quite simple, very much, and that's what I did. Heat for 1 minute, covered, flip, heat for another minute, and then let it sit for a third minute. Done. That's it. That's all. However, the oven instructions directly below the microwave instructions say wrap in foil, place on rack, and cook for 50 to 55 minutes, from 3 minutes to an hour for cheap frozen burritos. Ain't nobody got time for that. The final farewell concert from the Tragically Hip is going to see a rebroadcast 10 years later. Of course, it was the summer of 2016 when we got to say farewell with the Tragically Hip, a national celebration, which will be re-aired on CBC on air and online on August 22nd. Unfortunately, of course, it was the following year that Gord Downey died from brain cancer, October 17th, 2017. And 10 years later, celebration for the whole nation is exactly what we could use. I think the Strokes have announced that though they are promoting their upcoming new album, their 7th studio album, Reality Waits, June 26th, and the world tour following it, it's actually not going to be the whole lineup, as they say that Nick, member of the band, Nick Valenci, is going to be taking a break from the guitar for the scheduled portion so far of the tour, but they do say they look forward to his return. And in the meantime, they'll have their old friend Steve Schiltz, who was not a member of the band exactly, but somebody that they collaborated with and worked with and know well from the early days in New York. So he's going to be hanging out with them for their big tour around the world. Pete Townsend hinting that there could be some stuff from The Who in the future, new music maybe. Well, their frontman is a little busy, though. Roger Daltrey has got a solo tour that's happening, but it looks like Pete Townsend has got some things happening. He's signed on with the Organization for Development and Exploitation of Future Projects with his name, image, and likeness. It looks like that could be a 9-figure deal, according to outlets like Variety. But, more details to come, as really, as I said, we're only in hint territory at this time. That's it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve. Weird concoctions, food creations for Calgary Stampede this year? 10 days in July. You're going to have the options to blow your mind, like the new cheesy saddle slice, starting off strong with a literal wedge of cheese the size of a pizza slice, deep fried in corn dog batter seasoned with Cheetos dust and topped with pickles or pepperoni, or try it naked. And I'm scratching the surface here. Like, here's just a handful of the items. The Area 51 taco burger. It's kind of like taco in a bag, but all sealed in a burger bun pocket, like a Mexican Uncrustable, and I want it. I want it. Buldak stuffed grilled cheese is another option. Sometimes simple is best. The classic grilled cheese sandwich on a soft white bread, but with spicy ass noodles jammed in the middle. And well, I think we only ever tried it with like Ichiban noodles. We used to do this all the time when I was living the bachelor roommate student life. People are gonna love it. It's so good. There's also the butter drizzled soft serve, cheesecake tacos, meatball sub corn dogs, fried frozen watermelon, and more. And the big buckin' lemonade as well, where you get to spend almost $60 to haul around 6 liters of freshly squeezed and mixed lemonade. Some people will be raising an eyebrow as you try to raise this up off the counter, but, we might be laughing at the idea. Think about it. On a hot enough day, you're going to be walking around with 6 liters of lemonade, and everybody around you is going to be looking at you with nothing but envy.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.